Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Friday as we do pregame for Knicks-Pacers Game 2. We're going to talk about the market. We'll see where that's at with Michael Fiddle. I've got Kyle Murray here with me at KMurDFS on Twitter. You can check him out in the Action Network app. He does projections over at Roto Grinders. Kyle's got projections for us for the props tonight. We're going to build our parlay. We've got an Underdog get buckets lineup that we're going to do, which is just up. And we're going to hit that tonight. We're going to talk about where the market has moved to, where the sharp action is coming in, all that and more on today's show. Glad to have you guys with us. Do want to let you know that WNBA season has tipped off. And if you're an Action Pro subscriber, our brand new WNBA projections are now available in the Action Network app. Whether you're looking for an edge betting WNBA size, totals, or player props, Action Pro projections are the perfect tool for your toolbox this season. If you aren't an Action Pro subscriber yet, you can get $20 off an annual subscription right now. Just visit actionnetwork.com/pro to sign up. That's $20 off the annual subscription price at actionnetwork.com/pro. Michael Fiddle's here with me. He's at Fiddle's Picks on Twitter and the Action Network app. He hosts the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast, as well as a daily show on Twitter at Fiddle's Picks, breaking down all of the markets in the NBA. You should check that out every AM to get you set for where the market is at. He is my market reader. He is my sage. He peers into a crystal ball and sees where the market is going to go. Fiddle, line on this game, spread is at 6 as we reach about 3 hours before tip-off. Knicks -6, -105. 51% of the tickets are on the Pacers. 58% of the money are on the Knicks. We're not tracking sharp action on the Knicks in the Action Network app, but they are getting the money. And I know that you've got thoughts on that in particular with the market movement. The total 227.5 of the open. This is down to 224.5. Sharp action on the under. 93% of the tickets are on the over. 92% of the money is on the over. And yet this is down 3 points. Money line, best number is -245. Pacers +210. 61% of the bets are on the Knicks. 55% of the money on the Pacers to take game 2 and take a 2-0 lead. Give me the market read, Michael Fiddle.
Yeah, Matt, you say market reader and sage. It's a nice, kind way of saying stares at the screens all day and stays at home. But what we've seen today is a lot of under movement, seeing that total go from 227 down to 224.5. And I think it's worth pointing out that in game 1, there was overaction that got as high as 224.5 and then started going back down. So we kind of hit that point as the inflection point for the over spot in game 1. And now it seems to be the inflection point for the under spot in game 2. So those are how you could use different games and market angles to understand how this is moving. Matt also says there's money on the Knicks. There's the Knicks at -6 right now, despite closing at -4.5 for game 1 and losing. And yet we're not tracking sharp moves on the Knicks. And the reason why he says that is because the market has kind of priced out any sharp action on the Knicks. I promise you, the sharp backers were looking to try and back the Knicks in what is a typical playoff zigzag. The home team, the favorite, loses game 1. And in that crazy fashion, the sharp angles wanted to come back on the Knicks, but it opens at 5.5 with -115. Quickly, it goes out to 6. It's been bouncing around those numbers. People were praying this reopened at -4.5 where it closed last game, even though the Knicks lost, and then they were going to push it out to 6, but there was never that opportunity. And so as we talk through the show, like, this is a rare one. I consider myself a high volume bettor, but a rare game for me. I actually have no action on this personally. There's definitely angles that I am happy to explain, but one that I haven't bet because I feel like there hasn't really been an opportunity. Maybe there is now with the over.
Yeah, I like the under here. The sharp action is enough for me to go ahead and take the under. I projected it. Now, I have two worrisome trends, which I know you're not as concerned with, but from where I'm at, as far as this game goes, the over is 60, 43, and 3, 58% in games after an overtime game in the playoffs overall, and 11-5 in the conference finals following an overtime game. The over in game 2s after the previous game went over by a total of more than 20 points is 50-18. 73% by more than 30 points like last game, and it's 12-6. I still kind of like the under. From the second quarter of game 2 through the 3-minute mark of game 2, or of game 1 rather, of the fourth quarter, that stretch, the majority of that game was played at an under pace. It was played just at about an under pace. The hot shooting by the Pacers in that first quarter kind of jacked things up, and then obviously the Pacers closing with an absolute thermonuclear mechanism was enough to get the the over in regulation, let alone overtime. But I do think the sharp action here is enough to get me on the under for just like a little bit, just like a little bit on that. I don't think this has moved far enough. I do make this 222. So if it got down to 220, then sure, I would be on the over, but it's never going to get there. So that's my read on that. Kyle, when you've kind of been watching how the market has moved today, what's been your big takeaway as far as how the prop market has moved before this game?
Yeah, I think a big thing was kind of coming into the game, wondering if there's going to be any overreactions. Obviously, there's been a lot of intense scoring in that first game, especially from a couple of select individuals having a big game. So kind of was looking out for some overreactions, but at least from some bets that I'll touch on later, there was, I think, some underreactions to some of these lines for game 2 here. A couple other spots that kind of stood out. Brunson, his points and assist line, that was at 36.5 when I got it earlier at I think like 2 or 3 p.m. That's up to 37.5 across the industry now. So some good CLV there. That was a guy that I touched on the last show, kind of wondering where he would come in, where his line would be because of the foul trouble that he saw, despite also having a massive game, right? He scored 40-plus points while also having a limited minutes game there. But obviously, immense usage for Brunson, a lot of efficiency as well. So that was a line that definitely stood out for me. On the flip side, Miles McBride getting more minutes there. I know we're going to have some differentiating opinions on McBride, but I guess we'll get into that one in a little bit there. And then in terms of just some kind of interesting minutes things in these rotations, Miles Turner, that's going to be a big point for me in this series, but specifically for game 2, I kind of want to see how it plays out. I do sort of think that they're going to go back to him in a more, I guess, starters minutes type role here. Only played 28 regulation minutes there in game 1. Obviously, they're trying to do some different things defensively with Obi Toppin, Thomas Bryant, but didn't really work. Karl-Anthony Towns had a pretty big fourth quarter, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to go back to Miles Turner for that, those normal 32, 33 minutes. And if that's the case, I do think there could be an edge here on some of his overs. But again, if that's going to be something they're going to stick with for at least another game, there's probably going to be a lot of variance there. So probably a stay in kind of look situation here for Miles Turner in game 2.
Interesting. Fiddle, you got some market reads on some props. What do you got for me?
Yeah, the biggest one that I saw was Jalen Brunson is going to be a scorer tonight. The market is saying he is definitely going to be looking to score, and that is the role that the Knicks are primarily going to put him in. You get a combination of line moves that, kind of paints that picture. His over on his points opens at 28.5, minus 102 towards the over. It's now at 29.5, minus 122. So a full point, which probably worth about 30 cents, and another 20 cents on the line itself. It's a 55 cent move right there on Jalen Brunson's scoring output alone. We also see that happening. His over in his turnovers, expecting more usage, which falls in line with that. His over on his 3-pointers might actually still be playable on 2.5, plus 120, 320, plus 120 out there on the market. It's looking like he's going to be a scorer. And then the other thing that I noticed was his assists and rebounds have gone the other way. His double-double metrics have gone the other way. So they're really painting his usage as complete score. His steals halved. Is over 0.5, was minus 200, and now it's like minus 110 each way. So it's like we've seen him on defense, guarding in the dunker spot, kind of being hidden, waiting in the corner. I thought that might be an opportunity for him to grab some rebounds and crash the defensive glass to start the transition. However, it's just not, he's just kind of not guarding anyone. They'll try and work him onto the switches a lot, but that doesn't really afford. He's not really an on-ball stealer, right? He's not going to try and pick up those fouls, especially after last game having foul trouble.
Yep. I like that as well. Okay. Let's talk about Underdog, because Underdog is one of the best places to make picks during playoff basketball. While they score buckets, you could score cash. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play right now in your state. Their app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. To play, all you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. You can choose from things like points, assists, and so much more. We do steals, rebounds, and blocks on the Underdog Dog and Him lineup that you can catch in the Buckets podcast for Saturday's game between the Wolves and the Thunder. We're going to be doing that one again. Today, we've got a Buckets, Get Buckets Underdog lineup for you coming up in just a second. You could choose all sorts of different stat categories. Once your picks feel good, you can play with as little as $1. And if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. All right. We've got a Get Buckets lineup for you here on Buckets. Brunson higher than 2.5 threes. Mitchell Robinson higher than 4.5 points. Such a low figure. It does seem like Tibbs is going to be playing him more. Like this one a lot on higher 4.5 points. Even if he has to get just one free throw out of 6, that could be the literal difference there. Neesmith higher than 12.5 points, which Kyle likes. Turner higher than 1.5 threes. Turner got a lot of opportunities, I thought, in game 1 that he passed up. He kind of record scratched. I think in game 2, he might take more of those. They're still going to find opportunities with the drop coverage against that. Neesmith, obviously, the man of the hour. We'll see whether he can keep up his explosive scoring from the end of that game 1. If you do the flex option and we hit all 4, that's 6.48 times your money. If we hit 3, it's 1.62 times your money. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code BUCKETS100 to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code BUCKETS100. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Folks, filling in the chat here at youtube.com/The Action Network. Glad to have you guys aboard. Don't tell Fiddle about alts and escalators is one of the comments that we got. We'll talk about some of your bets. Put your best bets in the comment section, and we will get to them in the best bet segment coming up here in just one section. Mike says he's on Underdog right now, so you can get on that Get Buckets lineup of Brunson higher than 2.5 threes, Robinson higher than 4.5 points, Neesmith higher than 12.5 points, and Turner higher than 1.5 threes. Surprise! We're going to have an over in our parlay a little bit later on. Let's do best bets for tonight's game 2 between the Knicks and the Pacers. Kyle Murray, what do you got for me?
Yeah, 3 props here. Karl-Anthony Towns over 11.5 rebounds, Miles McBride under 7.5 points, and Aaron Neesmith over 12.5 points.
All right. Michael Fiddle, what do you like?
My favorite bet was the series, so I'm going to go Knicks game 2 and the series plus 175.
Okay. All right. You've also got 2 EV props for us I want to talk about as well. We'll get to that at the end. I talked about mine on best bets on the podcast episode, but I'll run you back through it. I'll hit mine really quickly in case you caught the show yesterday. So I'm on Indy tonight, plus 5.5. I'm on Indy on the money line. Aaron Neesmith under 4.5 rebounds is my favorite bet of the night. I love that bet so much. Josh Hart over 10.5 rebounds because he's a sicko. Andrew Nembhard under 16.5 points and assists. And Mikal Bridges over 3.5 assists. I'm running that back one from game 1, Kyle. I think that was worth running back on that one. And I just added under 224.5, as I mentioned, to Fiddle. Kyle, let's actually start there. So talk to me about Mikal Bridges and where you've got him projected relative to game 1 when he did go over on assists, and where you think he's going to wind up tonight.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same projection there. 4.49 projected assists for Bridges in 41 minutes. Obviously, he does have upside to play some more minutes as well. He did play 41.5 or so regulation minutes in that game. So, last game, looking at some of these numbers, he had 5 assists on 8 potentials. Really good number. Might be a little inflated, obviously, with Brunson having some foul trouble. So in that case, with Brunson off the floor, you do see Bridges kind of take over as a more primary ball handler and a distributor at times. But nonetheless, still 8 potential assists, really solid number there. So, yep, that number was also popping as a really strong bet. I just had already 4 or 5 bets on that one, and that one was like the 6th best bet of the night for me. So I didn't get to that one just from a volume perspective, but still one that was definitely popping for me.
Okay. Let's talk about Aaron Nesmith over 12.5.
Yeah, this is one that we touched on the post game a couple nights ago, where it was sort of wondering where this would come in, and opened at 12.5, stayed at 12.5, never really went up a ton. But nonetheless, I think it's just a spot where I was worried about some overreactions. I thought we might be able to see a line at like 14.5, 15.5 maybe, and get an under bet in early, but that was never the case. 12.5 is where it opened. That's where it remains. And this is a number that he's been consistently going over. He's gone over this number in 8 of his last 10. His minutes projection has kind of gone up since the Milwaukee and the Cleveland series. So when you're looking at the last 2 games, obviously that last game against Cleveland played 37 minutes, last game 39 minutes. So obviously 34 minutes in regulation. I project him for 33 minutes here tonight. I do think he has upside to play 34, 35 minutes in a close game down to the wire. But in a 32.5, 33-minute projection, have him for 16.1 points tonight. Again, the usage has been pretty stable for him, around 17, 18%. So that's a good indication of feeling confident in a projection. Obviously, he went 8 for 9 from 3 last game. That's not something we're going to continue to have, but he didn't really have a lot of volume, inside the 3-point arc, as well as just one of those games where he had the hot hand and he was looking to shoot from 3 every single time. So I do think we're going to see some, efficiency come down from that game 1. But also, while we're seeing potentially more shots around the basket, that efficiency probably won't bottom out as much as maybe some people are expecting. So I like the over here on 12.5 points for Nesmith.
Yeah, I think the only concern here is going to be foul trouble. That's the only thing that I think could sink you here, because one of the reasons I love his under on rebounds, 4.5, 2 last game. He's going to be the primary defender on Brunson. Nembhard and him usually split those responsibilities for the primary defensive assignment. The difference being that Brunson just absolutely flambés Nembhard. He just cooks him for whatever reason. It's one of those matchup things. It's usually just like body type. Some guys are better versus are worse versus skinnier dudes. Some guys are better versus skinnier dudes. Some guys struggle versus more strength, etc. Those kind of things. Nesmith is the only one that's been able to slow down Brunson whatsoever. So if I think that he's going to be defending him and he's going to be on the perimeter for the most point defending Brunson, guess what? Not a lot of rebound opportunities because he's not underneath. I don't think Nesmith's going to be off ball defensively, hardly at all. So it's going to be limited opportunities. We know how much of an advantage the Knicks have on the offensive glass anyway. I don't expect a lot of offensive rebound opportunities for Nesmith in general. So I do love Aaron Nesmith under 4.5 rebounds. Do not mind the overplay on the points, though. He's a disciplined defender. Good chance he stays out of foul trouble. And look, 3 threes, a bucket, 3 threes, 2 buckets, and a free throw, and you're home. So I think there's good value here. Fiddle, Knicks to win game 2 in the series, plus 175 DraftKings. Talk to me.
Yeah, so like I said, there's been no buy point for me to actually back the Knicks ATS or really money line. If this starts coming back, if we get some late Pacers action, I might resist that and try and get in Knicks -5 if it shows up. But right now, buying the -6 or paying -255 and a correlated price on the money line, when you stack up the implied probabilities, that's what it matches. You're paying the same as the -6. I couldn't get in there yet, right? So I can only go Pacers, ATS, or money line right now, but I do like the Knicks, and I see the books shading it that way, and I see the lack of sharp action coming in on the Pacers even with that. So I do think this is a Knicks game. I do think that means the plus 130 on the series is good. And so knowing how difficult it is to come back from down 0-2, like I just don't see that happening. So I took the plus 130. You can bump it up to a plus 175. It's a rare scenario, in which case I would be willing to do that. But the risk of going down 0-2 as the then going away is just brutal. So I don't think the Knicks can really recover if they lose this one. Haven't found a way to back them for this game. So I'll play game plus series as the angle.
I'm on Pacers. I've made the case before. A lot of this is just number, right? If I had this game as Knicks minus 0.7 in the opener, what about that game should make me move this in any sort of direction, and let alone for it to be enough for me to get to a spot where the Knicks are the play here? So from a numbers perspective only, I need to be on the Pacers here because I simply disagree with the market. I do not think that this should be this high of a line. Even if I were to give the Knicks an adjustment, a significant adjustment for the bounce back zigzag spot, which is a little bit weaker in the conference finals, I've got to write up in the Action Network app. You can read on that. Even if I gave him a bump, I wouldn't be able to get to this number. Like there's no number I can get to. So I have to be on Pacers here if I'm going to be on a side. And I actually just don't mind it. I actually think there's a chance I don't think the Pacers are sweeping. It would not shock me at all if the Pacers went up 2-0 and then lost game 3 back in Indy. Like that wouldn't surprise me at all. The Pacers are insane. They're completely insane. Yeah. So I do think there's a chance that happens, but it's enough here with enough value that I have to take the Pacers. Otherwise, it's like, why have a projection at all? So I'm on that as well. Josh Hart over rebounds is not hard to figure out here. He's going to smash. He smashed in game 1. Staying away from the double-double. I don't want to mess with the points. Kyle, what do you have Josh Hart's points projected at? Because watching him stick on 8 points for the entirety of the fourth quarter killed about 13% of my soul. The 13% of my soul died on Josh Hart ending with 8 points in that game.
Yeah, for a minute I thought that last game when we had the ballsy parlay going with Josh Hart needing a double-double rather than the 15+, I thought, we did good there, but he just got stuck on 8 points. I have him for 12.8 tonight, and then at that 10 rebound mark, 9.99 rebounds projected for Josh Hart tonight.
What about the assist, Kyle?
6.25.
Can I talk about it plus EV?
Talk about it. I know where you're going. Go ahead, Fiddle. Hit me with it.
Okay, because this is actually, if you saw me scrambling around, I actually just went and bet this at plus 1,300 now. Is the best in the market. But Josh Hart triple-double, and I'll speak to the old numbers that were there. I saw this as a plus EV opportunity. And then normally in these triple-double yes markets, right, where it's posted, it's a one-sided market, and that's pretty difficult to understand how the books are taking a theoretical market hold, or what is their rake rate? Like how much are they taking back on their market hold in that specific bet type versus what the true odds is. Like understanding what's the real VIG priced into this, because the line is 50-50, but you're paying minus 110. So you understand it's 10 cents there. So you don't really know that. However, there was a market with the plus 1,400, which was originally the line that I thought it was going to be, as well as a minus 4,000 on the other side. So you could combine the two implied probabilities of those two numbers using a plus 1,400 implied probability and using a minus 4,000 implied probability. You would get 104.22%, meaning you're betting into a 4.2% hold. Normally, when you bet props, you're betting into like 6.9%. So not only was it a good number, it's because it was a low hold market. So going back up the screen to don't talk to Fiddle about alts and escalators, it's because of the theoretical hold, and we have no idea what it is. It's super theoretical in that instance. Here we can actually calculate it and know it's plus EV, and I think there's always better ways to do long shots, and so I would go, this is the long shot way of doing it. Josh Hart triple-double. I actually bet it now.
Wow. I bet it in game 1. I have him to record a triple-double in the series, so I don't really need to do this again. I might do it again because something's wrong with me, but I will try and hold off on that one in particular. Okay, so let's go to Kyle. I'm interested on this one. The Miles McBride under 7.5 points. Talk to me.
Yeah, so, looking at his minutes, played 26 minutes last game. I'm projecting him for 20 minutes tonight. I did see some minutes projections across the industry, a minute or two higher than mine, but I do think 20 is still pretty good projection. I think that's probably the correct projection here. Maybe you can go up to 21. It's probably as high as I would go, though. And when it comes down to some of his recent performances and production, I just think that this number is just a little bit inflated here. 7.5 is a key number for him as well. Last 3 games, he's played 26, 32, 28 minutes. He's unlikely to play that time again. Obviously, playing 26 minutes in the game that went to overtime was pretty much as much of a run good scenario for McBride as he could, with Brunson getting into foul trouble. That's a very unlikely scenario again. And when you look at the way in which he got points last game, also very unlikely. He got to the line 5 times, made 4 free throws. He has 6 free throw attempts all postseason prior to last game. So again, just very unlikely in the way that he got his points on the board. The thing that's scary about the McBride number is typically he's a 3-point shooter, right? So yes, he can get it done in 3 threes very easily, and he doesn't necessarily need a lot of time on the floor and a lot of volume. Because if he does go, 3 for 4 or 3 for 5 from 3, obviously this bet is done. But again, when you're relying on, the more, I guess high variance shots from beyond the arc, I do think this is going to be a number that projects well and grades out pretty well. I'm for 6.1 points tonight in that 20-minute projection. So again, just when looking at some of the recent data and the recent numbers for McBride, I just think that there's a little bit of regression due for him here. I think this number is just a little bit inflated. Probably would feel better about it. From a market perspective, it was at 6.5. So the 7.5 number leads me to liking the under, and also a bit of a, just shopping the market as well. It's being offered right now at -110 over at MGM, while some other books have it at minus, I think 130. Caesars -130. FanDuel, I think, was also up at -130. So -110. Do feel pretty good about that value there.
I agree on the points here. I think what's interesting is I like him on over 3-pointers. I don't know. It's like, look, I like him for over 1.5 made threes. I think he's going to get opportunities to play. He's actually really good defensively in this matchup. So I think, it wouldn't surprise me if Tibbs played him a little bit more and he got some more opportunities. And so he wound up with some threes. But it's like, you're going to need a breakaway dunk for him to get something in on the inside or a foul. And honestly, it's like, that's very much, I think, a coin flip. If this number I feel like should be 5.5. Like, what do you project it at again?
6.1, 6.2, pretty much.
Yeah. So like that makes sense here. Like 2 threes or a 3, a bucket, and some free throws makes sense, but not 7.5. I agree with this. Fiddle, what's up?
Can I respond to our guy David Martell, because he's always here during the live streams, and he threw in the Hart no triple double -2,000 at MGM, because I love this comment, and the only thing that I would factor in is like that's the value of line shopping, because it's where we know it's the hold from what plus 1,400 is. You could reduce that by line shopping. So if you understand it's plus 1,400 at one book and you have the out somewhere else and it's -2,000, the theoretical hold across the market becomes like 1.9%. So that's really the value of line shopping, is that you could reduce the hold by taking prices at different books.
Good stuff there from Fiddle. Okay, and then let's go to Cat over 11.5 rebounds, Kyle.
Yeah, this one is, mainly just kind of trusting the projection. I do have a little bit of concerns about just like the style of the game and the matchup that could potentially force them away from the rim. And obviously, if they are going to be playing Mitchell Robinson increased minutes, which that was something that going into last game I thought might have been a potential, difference that didn't carry over from the Boston series onto this series. But again, with Robinson playing 20 plus minutes again, does offer some concern. Obviously, you have tons of great rebounders on this team with obviously Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson as well. But nonetheless, trusting the projection here, I am for 13.2 rebounds in 36 minutes tonight. It is a good rebounding matchup for bigs, with this matchup against the Pacers being a top 7 matchup for rebounds for the bigs against the Pacers. So also, looking across the industry, we're seeing, -125s, -128s for this 11.5 number. Again, so at -105, where it is on FanDuel right now, do have some value on this over 11.5 rebounds.
Okay. I think every rebounding prop for the Knicks is probably. I was kind of wondering about this, is like, who's not going to get the rebounds, right? So like, if we all agree like they're going to smash on the glass, somebody's probably going to be a little inflated, because if one guy gets it, the other guy doesn't. Yeah. And some of this does revolve around like shooting performance, I think, as well, which we'll talk about with the parlay. But I think that's an interesting kind of question here. I'll talk real quickly about Nembhard. So he was at 8 before they hit overtime. PRA, or points and assists, in game 1. He's at 8 points, 3 assists, so 11 on the points assist line before overtime. Then he went off in overtime. His matchups are not great in this one. McHale's a really good defender on him. They're able to switch his actions pretty cleanly because they don't worry about him as much. I have no idea why they were playing drop versus Hallie in game 1. That's a big thing here is if Tibbs is stuck in his ways, which does not seem like a crazy thing to suggest. If they are stuck in their ways, they're going to play drop again on Halliburton. If you switch on him, Tyrese is going to give the ball up and be like, I'm going to let them cook on the other side while the big's on me and we've got no rim protection on the inside because we're huge. Okay. If you blitz him, he's going to be like, I'm passing over the top of you and we're going to get a 4-on-3. But if you drop, that's the one situation where Hallie's like, if you're going to give me the pull-up jumper or the floater, I'll take it. If you're going to drop and you're going to let me take pull-up threes, I will take them. And from that, and every single one of those, if Halliburton's more of a scorer, Nembhard is like, that to me is a very strong correlated situation where if Halliburton scores more, Nembhard's going to score less. And the only reason he went over last time was because of overtime. So this number to me is way too high on Nembhard. I like the under here. Kyle, what do you have him projected at for points and assists?
Nembhard I have at 11.6 points and 5.3 assists.
Okay, so you've got just right around the number, maybe a little bit over. So screw your projections, Kyle. I hate it. All right, let's lead into the parlay by going to Fiddle. Fiddle, talk to me a little bit about where the market has been on Jalen Brunson today.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, just super over. Like the line movement, 55 cents towards the over on his points is one of the loudest prop moves I've seen all series and mid-series between games. So he's really beat up on this Pacers team. I even looked through the old game logs and the lowest scoring game that these two teams had, because I wanted to factor in some of the under trends too. Even in the lowest scoring game this season and going back a few seasons between these teams, Brunson had 40. So it was like, okay, he's going to be the focal point, the minutes. Hopefully he doesn't get in foul trouble. He missed a bunch of minutes. I mean, we know the Knicks went on a run, but like that, they don't want to risk that again. All right. Brunson should be at his close to 40, 41 plus minutes. So I definitely expect him to hit that 30 plus. 29 and a half towards the overs is probably worth it.
All right, so let's talk about the parlay, because here's what I want to do with it. We're going to do this one's way more of a fun one than some of the other ones we've done. Like, we have another one. If you guys want to go check it out, go listen to the podcast or watch the video from yesterday on our Best Bet show, because I actually really like that one. We did like a very well thought out rebounds parlay. Like, it's all boards, and I actually really like it. We're going to do something a little bit more fun with this one. We're going to take the over 224.5 here. I'm on the under, but we'll use the over for the parlay, and if it hits, then I will be like, aha, I knew it all along. Over 224.5 following the market. We're going to do Jalen Brunson to score 30 plus points following the market. We're going to do Aaron Nesmith under 4.5 rebounds, because if there's more scoring, fewer chances. Nesmith not a scorer. Brunson going off might be foul trouble. Nesmith under 4.5 rebounds, and Tyrese Halliburton under 4.5 rebounds based off of Kyle's projections. So this idea is fewer rebounds, more scoring. Brunson go burr, over goes bing bong. That's going to be our play here. And that way we don't even have to worry about who wins the game. Because that way the Knicks can put up a bunch of points and the Pacers can still seal this thing. And then everyone can win except for Fiddle with Knicks and this game in the series. We'll see how this one works out. That's going to be our parlay for the night. Over 224.5, Aaron Nesmith under 4.5, Brunson 30 plus points, Halliburton under 4.5 assists. You get a pretty decent chunk on that one. I think it dropped a little bit since I put it in the since I bet it. It's at 736 last I checked. So plus 736 on that 4-leg parlay. All right. That's going to do it for buckets. Appreciate you guys being with us. Good luck on your bets tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. My thanks to our producers, David Payne, Giver Gould. Thanks to Kyle Murray from Roto Grinders, Michael Fiddle from @Fiddle's Picks and the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast. We'll be back after this game with a post-game show. Fiddle and I will react to this game and talk about Game 3 on Sunday. Give you an advanced look at the line. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll catch you guys again next time. Till then, let's get buckets.